Most Stage 1 Zombies players got the new Call of Duty because their friends were playing it, and then they tried out multiplayer and maybe some campaign, but one night they discover zombies. Perhaps their friends convinced them to give it a go, or they're just tired of skill-based matchmaking in MP. The Stage 1 player spawns in to a zombieless, harmless environment. But then, moments later, zombies start spawning in, and the player shoots the zombies, and after killing them all, they progress to round 2? That's how this works? And the player is so focused on just surviving at this point that as soon as they realize, oh god, I didn't realize I'd have to buy ammo, panic sets in. And so they resort to melee combat, and then they realize that the melee is really not reliable. And maybe while all this is going on, a dead zombie leaves behind a green glowing object. And like a baby magpie, the player runs over to the shiny object and boom, they just got their first power-up. Sadly, even with this, a power-up is not going to be enough to save them. Once that's all said and done, the game over screen congratulates the player on their first milestone, and the player sees this and thinks, you know what, that was really difficult, but I do feel like if I practice a little more, I could get better. And that brings them to Stage 2. The Stage 2 player takes stock of their surroundings in the zombies menus and realizes there's another zombies map they could try. They spawn in, and if they get a higher round than they did on the first map they tried, they immediately think, oh, this map's easier, I'm just gonna play this for the rest of my life. But if the first map was the easier one, they think, this new map sucks, I'm just gonna stick with what I played first. And now that they're going back to it over and over again, they start to realize things like, you can buy doors. As the player does this, they find the mystery box for the first time, and they notice that that also costs points. And they think, all right, why not? I've got nothing better to spend them on. So they buy the box, and it starts cycling through dozens of weapons, just like a slot machine. Please be good, please be good, please be... Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, Stage 2's kind of rough. Maybe they spin the box again until they get something that looks half decent. And now, locked and loaded, they start progressing through the map a bit more. But they're out of points because they spent them all on the box. And then fog starts rolling in, and it's a special round, and the game goes from what was previously just a zombies mode to now being something completely different. There's weird creatures attacking them, whether it's dogs or bugs or who knows what. It's usually not too difficult, and so they're blessed with their max ammo drop at the end, and they move on. The player might also stumble on this red machine and think, you know what, that looks like a health symbol, which I could really do with having more of right now. And so for the first time ever, they buy themselves a Juggernaut. And this helps them survive a little longer than their previous attempts, and eventually they come across another machine, and this time it's like a blue washing machine looking thing, and it seems to be called the Pack-a-Punch. $5 grand? Are you f***ing kidding me? So the Stage 2 player at this point really regrets spending all that money on the mystery box. And so they start saving up their points again to try and get Pack, but unfortunately while they do this, a new challenger approaches. So the Stage 2 player now understands there's even more ways to die in zombies than they originally thought. And that brings them to Stage 3. The Stage 3 player finally saves up enough points to pap their gun for the first time, which is a clear sign that they're getting better. And with that newfound power, number one, they feel like a god. The sheer zombie-slaying potential of that Pack-a-Punch is so satisfying, and they set a new personal best. And as they're doing this, a couple things happen. First, new camos start to unlock for their gun as they play. And number two, the Stage 3 player also thinks, you know what, maybe I should hop into a public match. Like, maybe that would be fun. So they join their first lobby, and they're surrounded by other players just like them. And this might be their first time ever playing co-op, so when they're in that public match and they go down, they realize, hold on, the game isn't ending. Like, I can get revived by other people now. That's amazing. They also have some spare points to spend, and so they start buying some of the other perk machines that they find around the map. And when they buy this purple one, they hit a dolphin dive and it creates an explosion, and they start just rinsing and repeating this off every single ledge they can find from this point forth. And this obsession is not going to go away for a while. And while this is all going on, the player notices that all the zombies on the map seem to be dead, but there's just one last one crawling around. And so they think, you know what, this is going to be the easiest kill of my life. And they shoot it. Wait, why is the round check? Dude, did you kill the crawler? What are you doing? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Reason? And the player's confused, because they thought they were here to kill zombies, not keep them alive, but still, they quickly learn their lesson. Eventually, the Stage 3 player ends up in a public lobby with a God tier player like they've never seen before, and this feels like seeing Jesus in the flesh. This godlike player clears entire hordes of zombies on their own, they revive everyone on the team, they know every corner of the map, they might open doors the players never even noticed were there, and they're often the last alive in those later rounds. And so the Stage 3 player gets a new personal best simply because the God tier player is backpacking them into the 20s, maybe even higher, and that's a feat that they could never achieve alone. And throughout that match, the Stage 3 player's thinking, damn, I'm kind of jealous of the skills that I'm seeing on display here, and one day, just maybe, I can be like that guy. Stage 4 players are hungrier than ever. There's so much that they want to learn and get better at. For example, they've seen those godlike players from Stage 3, but they've also, for example, seen wonder weapons out in the field and they want one for themselves. They start off spinning the mystery box over and over again to try and get one, and they've also picked up one or two tricks from those godlike players, like throwing monkey bombs to get out of sticky situations. And while that's all happening, they start gravitating towards a favorite bullet weapon as well, and they unlock their first gold camo. So they're rapidly improving at this point, and they set new personal bests, and as they go up the rounds, those later rounds mean that more big bad zombies spawn in that can ruin their day. And they think about Stage 3 and how they were carried by the godlike player, and they think, you know what, this would be even better if I was doing it with friends. And then something crazy happens. A friend of the Stage 4 player introduces them to a part of zombies they didn't even know existed, the main quest Easter egg. They jump in game together, and the friend starts following a list of instructions being read aloud by some British guy. Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Straightforward, no nonsense, But bear in mind, the Stage 4 player is only at Stage 4, so they're not really pulling their weight just yet, and whether or not the team successfully completes the Easter egg here is down to whether or not their friend can be godlike enough to clutch up and do it all themselves. Thankfully, even if they do fail, it's not really about succeeding here, it's more so about just learning that these things are in the game in the first place. That's what's important to the Stage 4 player, and that makes them even more motivated to improve. Around the time that they first get shown an Easter egg, the Stage 5 player discovers zombies content exists on the internet, and soon they're binging video after video to learn everything that they can. They quickly learn who that British guy was. It's MrRoflWaffles, my favorite egghead, not just book smart, but street smart. The Stage 5 player learns all sorts of techniques they didn't know existed, like lying down in front of perk machines for an extra 100 points, and they also start implementing some basic side Easter eggs that they discover while scrolling as well. They also get more comfortable hoarding zombies and running in circles, and they also start to get hooked on camo grinding because they see in the videos that there are some more efficient ways to grind those camos out, and so they get to work on those as well. They also go back to that map that kicked their ass in Stage 2, and they realize that it's really no longer a threat. So they sort of graduate from the first map, the easier one, to this slightly harder map now, and start rinsing and repeating on that map to set new personal bests. And eventually they've got a pretty respectable high round on both of the maps, and they start to wonder, what's next? The Stage 6 player is really starting to become a zombies fan, and so while they continue to play the maps that they have available, they're also really excited to be part of a new map release when it launches. They see the teasers coming out, they see the trailers, and they get super excited, and then when the map drops, it feels like Christmas morning. But then they get hit with a massive download, and they think, you know what, I might have to play tomorrow instead. Eventually, they load the map up for the first time, and those first few runs are magical. The player is as lost as everybody else is, and it feels amazing discovering stuff alongside the rest of the community. They check YouTube and are surprised to see that MrRoflWaffles has already uploaded a full Easter egg guide. But the map's been out less than 24 hours, and the player thinks, how the hell did he do that? And there's only one explanation that would make sense. The developers must have told him the Easter egg steps. The Stage 6 player follows the Easter egg guide, and with a bit of practice, they actually get their first ever main quest Easter egg completion, without even being carried by their god tier friend. It took blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point, but ultimately, they feel a huge sense of accomplishment that they've never felt before in zombies. At the end of the Easter egg, they're surprised to see a cutscene, and they realize there's a continuous story to zombies as well, and the player starts to try to piece things together a little bit, but it's pretty damn confusing. Still, they are no longer a novice. They're a fully fledged zombies player. And this feels like it separates them from the rest a little bit. So naturally, they start to progress to the next stage here. The Stage 7 player has a little bit of an ego problem because they've done their first Easter egg now, and quickly after that, they attempt Easter eggs on the other maps and start to develop very strong opinions on which maps are the best. And of course, once they've decided on their favorite map, that's the only valid choice, and anyone that disagrees is wrong. Around this time, they buy Black Ops 3 and Zombies Chronicles if they haven't tried it before, and they also start to grasp the story in a deeper way than they have before, and that also starts to feed into their superiority complex just a little bit. They hop into public matches and judge the players that are stuck in the lower stages, carrying them for a while before getting bored of having to revive the team over and over again. And they also get angry at their teammates if somebody grabs a nuke to end a round, and especially if a teammate kills a crawler. Now what the hell have you done that for, man? I was holding that crawler so we could do the Easter egg. The Stage 7 player also looks for other zombies players out in the wild to talk to. So they join r/COD zombies and they join Discord servers with other zombies players in. And in those spaces, they correct anyone that's remotely mistaken about the game or the story or anything. They post tier lists that are the gospel, and they actively disagree strongly with other people's opinions. And they might also start to reject those YouTubers that they used to watch, thinking, you know what, I don't need a video guide. I'll just use a text guide from now on. That's fine. While they discuss things online and get involved in those heated discussions, they grind away towards unlocking their mastery camos as well. And after a while, they finally unlock them all, and they swear to themselves, I will never do that to myself ever again. And they start to feel a sense of burnout, which brings them to Stage 8. The Stage 8 player might be a little jaded. New maps or new games no longer feel like Christmas morning like they did before, and instead, they're opportunities to be extremely critical, pointing out all the problems compared to those previous titles. The new Easter eggs make no sense, they're too easy, the wonder weapons are boring, the characters suck, the story's too childish, etc. But still, they do desperately want the game to be good. It's just that nothing can live up to their standards. They find themselves returning to old maps to fill the void, telling everybody that will listen that this new game just isn't as good as BO3. But despite their cynicism, they are the best player in their friend group. They're genuinely really good at zombies, and they carry those friends through Easter eggs while complaining a little bit that the mechanics aren't what they used to be. They also realize at Stage 8 that they did previously swear that they would never do another mastery camo grind, but they're kind of getting sucked into doing a new one now. And so as much as they complain about the game, they still play it a huge amount in order to get all of those camos unlocked. Many players struggle to escape Stage 8, but for those that do, they become enlightened. They try out the less popular zombies titles, like Infinite Warfare Zombies, World War II Zombies, or Exo Zombies, and the change of pace gives them a new perspective. This spiritually reborn Stage 9 player looks back at maps that they were once critical of and realizes that they weren't so bad after all. They return to using video guides because at this point, MrRoflWaffles kind of feels like an old friend. And it also turns out that maybe those Black Ops 4 maps weren't as bad as the Stage 9 player first thought they were. Taking a break from zombies or just being a little bit less in the trenches has cooled off their cynicism a bit. And with this, they've become the pro player that they once idolized, and they start using their powers for good. They revive everyone in those public matches, including the obvious noobs. They top the leaderboards in kills and revives with minimal downs. They give the wonder weapons to the new players so they can have fun too. They backpack the team without complaining, and they guide new players through Easter eggs. They find ways to find the fun in every game they play. And while they may not use the most optimal strategy every time, this no longer matters matters to them because it's about having fun. And while they do this, they might even try making their first ever zombies videos or streams. And pretty quickly they realized that, this is actually a little bit harder to do than they expected at first. So the player moves on to setting some personal challenges for themselves in the game. They target their first real round 100, and the continuous attempts become an obsession for a while until they finally hit it and they really feel a sense of mastery. And then they repeat this on other maps and challenge themselves on harder zombies games as well. The enlightenment they feel and the reward from these new challenges brings them to stage 10. The Stage 10 player has accepted Call of Duty Zombies for everything that it is, the good and the bad. They've played hundreds of hours, maybe even thousands of hours across multiple games, and at this point, they are acutely aware of the zombies community cycle. Trash whatever is new in favor of things that came before, and then over time, realize, hold on, that new stuff wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was. The veteran is now enlightened, and their awareness of this cycle means that they can avoid participating in it. Instead, they're pretty much at peace. They memorize the Easter egg steps on their favorite maps, and some Stage 10 players even use that newfound knowledge to turn to speedrunning, finding even more ways to challenge themselves after mastering zombies. The Stage 10 player will be there when a new game or a new map comes out, not because it's going to be perfect, not because their expectations are sky high, but simply because zombies has become a part of who they are. They love the mode for everything it brings to the table, and even if there's a few bad years here and there where the game isn't as good as it once was, they know that the Treyarch devs are working as hard as they can to try and develop new and exciting experiences for everybody to enjoy. And when those experiences come out, that's exactly what the Stage 10 player does.